Hello, everybody. Everybody having fun so far at the Totango conference? It's terrific. Great. Good stuff. When Guy asked me to keynote, we talked about topics. And what I'm going to talk to you today about is some strategies that are sometimes overlooked by customer success managers in their desire to get their job done, get the tasks managed, process the data, and so forth. So I want to talk about 3 basic strategies that are sometimes overlooked, and they shouldn't be overlooked. First is eliminating all friction in the customer experience. Eliminating all friction in the customer experience. That sounds like an easy strategy, but it's a little harder than it looks. Sam Boonen, who'll talk after me from Zendesk, says, you can't just use a customer success strategy to cover up a bad customer experience. And customer experience is critical. The second strategy I'm going to talk about is making your customers uncomfortable. And that's what I mean. You make customers uncomfortable. I'll explain what I mean in a little while. We'll talk about the challenger sales model and how that applies to customer success strategies. And often, customer success managers overlook this as an important sort of point on the way to more customer success. And finally, I'm going to talk about being human. If you saw Claire Burge's excellent keynote yesterday, it's all about bringing humanity into the process of customer success management. And that's a critical issue. So I'll talk about a few ways you can do that with empathy and creativity, fallibility, things like that. So first, let's talk about eliminating friction in the customer experience. Well, I want to tell you a story. A friend of mine, a colleague who's a management consultant who specializes in dealing with retail stores and the companies that sell into retail stores, told me this story. He was out shopping for a new pair of athletic shoes during Christmas season. He went into a shopping mall. It was very crowded, and he went into the athletic shoe store, and it was jammed with people doing their shopping. Every salesperson had 2 or 3 people in front of him, so he got in line and is taking his time. But of course, he's observing what's going on around him because that's his business, is selling into retail stores, right? That's what his clients do. And the first person in line in front of him was a young woman who was looking at some Reebok cross trainers, and she pointed to the Reebok cross trainers. And the salesman said, "Oh, yes, ma'am, that's a great, Reebok makes great cross trainers. But I'm going to show you another brand. They make a great cross trainer, too. A lot of my clients like it. It's called New American. You may never have heard of them, but he brought out the New American shoes. She tried them on, and she bought them. They're about half the price of the Reeboks." So my friend is really hypnotized by this story. The next guy up in line is a tall gentleman who was interested in some Nike basketball shoes. And the salesman made him the same pitch. If you're not really interested in the label Nike, if you want to buy some shoes that are less expensive and fit really well, really good shoes, the New American makes a great basketball shoe, and he brought out the New American and sold him that. So now it's my friend's turn to get served, and he can't hide his curiosity. He says, "Wait a minute, before I tell you what I want, you got to tell me, I just saw you sell 2 customers in front of me on an off-brand at half the price they were willing to pay for a brand I never heard of. What's New American's secret? What are they doing?" And the salesman got a little reticent, but he said, "Is it like it's a special commission, right?" No, it's not money. It's a contest. You have extra inventory in the back. No. Salesman says, "Look, don't tell my manager. Don't tell my manager, okay? I won't. I just want to know, what is New American doing?" He says, "Look how crowded the store is on a Saturday afternoon, Christmas season. I don't have time to go to the bathroom on a Saturday afternoon." New American, when they ship their shoes to the store, the laces are already in them. That's my question to you, friends. Do you ship your shoes with the laces in them? Or is there a tinge of friction in the customer experience? Because you cannot concentrate on making customers successful until you've sucked all the friction out of the experience. In my view, there are 4 key elements of customer friction, okay? 1, the product has to be reliable. It has to work as specified. It can't have flaws. Your service has to be spotless. You have to answer the phone. You have to man your website. You have to man the chat lines. Customers can't go to any trouble to get the right usage out of the product. 2, It needs to be valuable. That doesn't mean you have to be the cheapest on the block. You don't have to be the least expensive, but you have to be within your competitive set. You have to be on a par with your competitive set. And the value proposition needs to be obvious to the customer. Okay? So he needs to see what you're getting out of it, and he needs to see what he's getting out of it for your product to be frictionless. Also, relevance. A frictionless experience is one that's relevant. I shouldn't have to tell you again and again and again, what I've been doing, okay? Or I shouldn't have to tell you when I get you on the phone the web page on your site that I was just at. You should know that already, and there's plenty of ways you could figure that out. Okay, I'm not going to go into them now, but the technology is obvious. I've written about it before, and very few companies actually do it. Usually, when a customer calls the company after being on that company's website, the company has no clue that they were just on the company's own website. And there's no excuse for that anymore, not with the technology we have. And finally, the fourth quality is what I would call trustability. When I use the term trustability, I mean something very specific. I don't mean just trustworthy. I mean proactively trustworthy. I mean that you have to go out of your way to make sure you protect the customer's interest. You act in the customer's interest. Let me give you an example. Amazon, terrific company, very frictionless customer experience. I buy a lot of books on Amazon. I'm reading an article, it's a couple of academics, at maybe Kellogg School. They wrote a book, and I think, I ought to get that book. So I go right to Amazon, I click on the book, it comes to my house, or it goes to my Kindle, no questions, no. They already got my card, they already got my address, everything's cool. Very frictionless. At one time, I saw this book, and I said, I thought I ought to get this book. Maybe I ought to get that book. So I go to Amazon, I click on the book, and instead of it coming to my Kindle, I get, warning, you already bought this book from Amazon. Are you sure you want to buy another copy? No, I don't need another copy of the book. Thank you very much. I was about to make a mistake. Amazon could have sold me the book and made a profit, and it wouldn't have been cheating me, it wouldn't have been untrustworthy, but it wouldn't have been proactively trustworthy. They proactively protect me from making a mistake. They intuit with their database, which is a lot better than my database. Their database thinks that I might not want this book. That's what I would call trustable. That's an example of trustability. When Microsoft sells SQL servers, they provide coupons, basically vouchers, for the enterprise customer to send their IT people to training days. And the training days are delivered by Microsoft's various partners, the VARs around the world. So I'm a big Microsoft customer. I buy a SQL server, and I send my IT staff to training that's run by some partner of Microsoft. So we turn the vouchers in, they turn it into Microsoft, and Microsoft pays them for the training. That's the way it works. But a few years ago, Microsoft noticed that only about 20% of the training vouchers they were issuing were actually being redeemed. The marketing people were ecstatic about this because that meant that 80% of the budget they'd allowed for training is going back into the marketing budget. But the CEO and the senior managers at Microsoft weren't so happy with this. And so now what Microsoft does is, about a month after you buy your SQL Server, if you haven't used a training voucher, okay, or you haven't used all your training vouchers, Microsoft will send you an email. Don't forget, we send you vouchers for free training. It costs you nothing. It's done by our partners. You'll get more value out. You'll be more successful with our product because we're watching out for your interests. That's trustability. So, you want to eliminate friction? Let me give you some suggestions off the top. Number one, invest heavily in your customer onboarding process. Correct any over-promising by sales and marketing. And sales and marketing, they're always over-promising. That's what marketing is, over-promising. That's what it's based on, okay? The product is perfect. It works perfectly. There's nothing wrong with it. Never anything wrong with the product, okay? So you got to correct that. And you got to onboard customers in a realistic fashion that inspires their confidence and trust in you. Done right, I think good onboarding will be the highest touch part of your operation. And also, use data and technology to streamline and routinize your operations. Let me tell you how Panaya does it. Panaya is a Totango customer. They're the leader in ERP change analytics around the world and cloud-based software testing. But without accurate and comprehensive product usage data, their data were often misapplied. they had to rely on anecdotes to get their point across with customers. Now, with Totango, they understand product usage data by company and by time period and by user. The CS team can focus on customers that need help. Meetings are no longer wasted on discussions about how the customer is doing. We can all see how the customer is doing with the data. And they can rely more, they can spend more time trying to monetize the really high potential customers. And by the way, Panaya is now planning to use Totango as their main CS dashboard, managing all CS-related activities. Okay, second often overlooked idea. Make your customer uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about just uncomfortable, I'm talking about extremely uncomfortable. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, don't wait for problems to come up. Bring problems up actively in front of customers. When you have a problem, bring it up to the customer. Don't let the customer come to you with the problem. Bring it up. You know the problem's there. You bring it up. Schedule the next QBR during this QBR. Don't wait to put something on a calendar when it's 3 months hence. Okay, do it now. Make a plan. And never, ever take a meeting without having something of value to give to the customer. Something important. You know, when I was in the advertising business, we followed this principle of making clients uncomfortable. In fact, when I was at Chiat Day, and the creatives there said it's not a successful meeting in terms of presenting creative product to a client unless at some point you see the blood drain from the client's face. Okay? That's what you want. You want clients to see things the way they hadn't seen before. I think you can improve your success, your customer success, by using what's called the challenger sales model. Anybody ever hear of the challenger sales model? Good. Okay, so I'm not going to take a lot of time going through it. But basically, the corporate executive board, they took 1,900 sales managers and asked each of them to volunteer interviews with 3 sales reps in their organization. 2 sales reps out of the median bunch and 1 outstanding sales rep. Then they looked at 44 different qualities and criteria in interviews and questionnaires administered to these sales reps, and they divided the sales reps into 5 different sort of attitudinal groupings, and these are the groupings: the hard worker, the challenger, the relationship builder, the lone wolf, the reactive problem solver. And then they looked to see what percentage of each of these groups was a high-achieving salesperson. You know what they found? There was a very clear winner and a very clear loser among these groups. The loser is the relationship builder. I know, it pains me to say that. My business is building customer relationships. It pains me to say this, but the loser is the relationship builder. Why? Because the relationship builder is trying to make the client happy, trying to smooth over the problems. The winner, the group that had the segment that had the most outstanding salespeople, were the challengers. And the challengers challenge the client's thinking. Here's what challengers do. Challengers offer a unique point of view. They debate the business model with the client. They identify different economic drivers. They are comfortable discussing money. And they focus on solutions, not products. They don't focus on products and features. They focus on solutions, okay, to the problem the client. And they look at the different perspectives that the client has. They change that perspective. What the Corporate Executive Board book says is that basically the challenger focuses on teach, tailor, and take control. They teach with their unique point of view. They tailor their message by debating the specifics of the client's business model and the economic drivers, and they take control by discussing money. They focus on solutions. You know what? You need to be a thought leader for your customers. Or as Tiffany Bova said in a breakout session yesterday, you need to get to the future before your customer does, okay? You need to know what the future is, and you need to get there before your customer. You need to be there waiting for your customer to make the customer successful. So, play to your strengths. Always look at what makes you different from your competitors and twist your content, tailor your content to make that point, to play to your strength. What can you do better? Challenge your customers' assumptions, reframe the problem and the issues, scale across customers. What does that mean? It means not just divide your customers into vertical industries, but segment them by what they need. These guys need lead generation, and these guys need more lead fulfillment, or maybe client development work. They need what they need, because that's the way you can get to solutions, and also catalyze action. The way you catalyze an action with a client, with a customer of yours, is not by saying, and the ROI on this is 83%. It's by saying the cost of not doing this is going to be X million dollars. That's what you're paying every month that you don't need to pay, every year that you don't need to pay. That's the way you catalyze action. Okay. Third point. Be human. Be human. What is a human being? What's unique about us as humans? Well, number one, we're social. We like to associate with other humans. Computers don't like to associate with us or anybody. Okay? They have no social goal, no social motive, but humans do. And humans, they change their opinions in the face of other people's opinions. They change their thinking. They adopt whole new strategies. Our social relationships are very, very important to us. So you need to use those social connections. You need to introduce others, make connections, interact frequently with your customers. Also, humans are fallible. Machines aren't fallible. Machines can be programmed in a fallible manner, but themselves, they don't make mistakes. Machines are just tools. Humans, we make mistakes all the time. So admit it. When you make a mistake, admit it. Fess it up. Bring it out. It makes you accessible. It makes you more human. And humans are empathetic. Empathy. Empathy is probably one of the most central human qualities. Every human being born is born with empathy. I'm sorry, not every human being born. 99.5% of us are born with natural empathy. The 0.5% of human beings who are born with no empathy, there's a word for them. They're called psychopaths. Don't be a psychopathic business. Have empathy for your customers. Empathy is what drives the whole customer insight movement. Let me play you a video.
Zaba. Zaba.
Utheni ungambethanga? Ebelambi.
I think empathy makes you bigger. As that video, I just chose it from the Cannes Film Festival. It's one of the commercials for Everlast, which is a boxing and sporting goods product. But I think it perfectly illustrates the power of empathy in the human being. Empathy makes you bigger, and empathy demonstrates to your customers that you're human, that you're just like they are. You're empathetic. You feel their pain. You understand their problem. For a company, empathy fuels the drive for customer insight. Think about it, okay? Why do we take the customer's perspective? Why do we draw a customer journey? Why do we try to understand what the customer is experiencing? The whole customer experience movement is about empathy on the part of companies for the customers they're selling to. What's it like to be those customers? Empathy is what converts commercial transactions into human relationships. And as Guy said yesterday, your customer is not just an asset. you need to think of your customer as a cause. A cause. The way the customer becomes a cause is when you have empathy for the customer's situation, their opportunities, their problems, their feelings. Let me tell you a story about smart technologies. Smart technologies makes hardware and software products for learning and collaboration. Some of their most avid customers are in the field of education. And if you're an educator, if you're a teacher or a school administrator, usually you're not there for the money, okay? You're usually there because you have a passion. You have a drive. You have a cause, the better education for people. And so it's pretty easy for smart technologies to identify with that cause and talk to teachers and educators about how better to pursue that cause. And as a result, smart technologies customers have become terrifically enthusiastic advocates on part of SMART. In fact, SMART says that 80% of the company's own blog posts are now written by customers. And better yet, customers even man SMART's trade show booths at trade show. Can you imagine that? Think about the power of that for a second, having customer advocates so enthusiastic for you that they man your trade show booths. Okay? Being human also means being open. And therefore, open is the inevitable future of all technologies. It's open. Open source, open to others, open to competitors even. If you're pursuing a cause, and if your customer is pursuing a cause, and if you want your customer to identify with you and to have empathy for you the way you're having empathy for them, then you need to be open, not closed. Don't create a walled garden. Make it an open system. You'd go from a single path to multipath operations. You go from top-down management to bottom-up autonomy. You go from something that's man-made to something that emerges and is organic, from planned creation to unplanned emergence. That's autonomy. You want to prepare for the open world of collaboration and teamwork. Customer success initiatives will inevitably become more open as technology makes collaboration even more practical. You saw technology yesterday in Zoe. Zoe is designed to open up the customer success discipline as a discipline to the whole company. Your customer's company, you need to be open. You design your system to accommodate every manager in the company, not just the customer success team. You know what the real secret to customer success is? Abraham Lincoln told a story once. Abraham Lincoln was famous for his anecdotes. And in the closing days of the Civil War, a reporter asked Mr. Lincoln, what was the secret to General Grant's success? And Abraham Lincoln, who loved an anecdote, he said, well, that reminds me of a story. And he went on with his story. He said, you know, in 1769, there was a Hungarian civil servant who built himself a wooden man. He dressed him up in an oriental costume, and he sat his wooden man behind a chess table, and he became known as the Mechanical Turk. And the civil servant took his Mechanical Turk invention all around Europe, and he amazed kings and queens and princes everywhere. Until one day, Lincoln said, one day the Mechanical Turk played a chess game with a chess master. Now this Mechanical Turk, you would move a piece, Mechanical Turk's arm would come out and move a piece. You'd move a piece, and his arm would move a piece. So he played chess, right? This time he played a chess master in France, and the Mechanical Turk, Lincoln said, the Mechanical Turk actually beat the chess master at his own game. Whereupon, perhaps being French, the chess master was so insulted at having been beaten at the hands of a machine, a wooden contraption, that he went up to the cabinetry of the Mechanical Turk and he yanked it apart, and sure enough, underneath the cabinetry was a man with levers and a little small man moving, and the master said, hey, there's a person in there. So Lincoln turned to the reporter and he said, that's General Grant's secret. There's a lot more people in the Union Army than there are in the rebel army. That's our secret. I say that's the secret to a highly successful customer success management program. Your employees need to be engaged in their work, enabled to accomplish their mission, so that what you get is self-organization. Self-organization is something that a technology like Zoe could manage. Imagine posting a problem and getting people to respond on their own initiative to the problem, to solve the problem. You get self-organization is an organic process. It's the way your human body, you know, DNA is not a blueprint for your body. DNA is a recipe. Your body organizes itself according to that recipe. All organic things do. Self-organization is a biological term, and today it is increasingly a business term. It's talking about swarming a problem to fix it with a bunch of people, self-organizing themselves. It's talking about agile management. I'll give you a physical demonstration of self-organization. We'll demonstrate it right now. I'm going to turn my back. I want you to start clapping, but I want you to clap in unison, you know, like to do in Europe. Clap in unison. I'll say no more. Just start clapping. Okay, so what'd that take? That took like a second and a half. Now what's going on? You're clapping, you're listening to others, you're adjusting, they're adjusting. There was no CEO in the front of the room going clap, 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 clap. Right? You self-organized. That is the future of the customer success management, self-organization. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Thank you.